From what they thought was going to be bad news at the doctor's office to a complete upside down turn, fellow triplet dad Colin Longren shares his family's journey of finding out they were having triplets. I'm Isaiah Hernandez, your host of the Triplet Double Podcast. In this episode, I sit down with Colin to talk about the shock of that first ultrasound, the isolation parents of multiples often feel, the unique challenges of raising triplets, and how different life looks when you go from one child to 4 overnight. This podcast is here to relate to all parents. Whether you're raising multiples or just a singleton, my hope is that Triplet Double serves as a resource to learn, grow, laugh, and hear different perspectives on the parenting journey. I want to thank you for tuning in and supporting the show. It truly means the world. You can follow Triplet Double on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Threads to keep up with new episodes and join the conversation. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, thank you, Colin, for joining me on this week's episode of the Triplet Double Podcast. You and I have had the pleasure of getting to know each other before today, and we had a lot in common, and which was pretty great. And what I wanted to do was, when we talked about getting each other on the podcast and having you join, I wanted to just learn a little bit more about your experience of when you first found out about the triplets and how that whole journey's been. So if you don't mind sharing with us.
Yes, Isaiah, thanks for having me. We do have a lot in common, including holding 3 babies in an operating room at a time.
Right.
Yes, yeah. So glad to have the conversation. Dads out there, you're not alone. I'll tell you a little bit more about us. I say us, our family. So my wife, Sadie, and I, yes, we have triplets. At the time of this episode, which is September 26th, the triplets are just over a year, and we have a 3.5-year-old toddler as well. So long story, relatively short on our triplet journey. Yeah, we did go through infertility, and that includes for the first child we did, which only led to one child.
Mm-hmm.
And the second time around, we went through infertility, and this time it got all the way to IUI, right? So not quite IVF level, but IUI. And
really quick, explain. Yeah. I'm unfamiliar with the terminology of IUI. What is that exactly?
Yeah, so the technical, well, as a casual description to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Insemination from using a assisted guide, right? So from not just infertility meds, but infertility meds plus going to an OB's office and having the OB actually put the semen into from a insemination perspective.
Okay.
To make sure that the sperm meets the egg.
Gotcha.
A very rough way to describe it.
Yeah.
Versus IVF, when it gets to the point of a sperm and an egg together on the outside, combine them and put them, in. Right.
Okay. Makes sense.
So not quite that, end journey of trying to conceive and be pregnant, but almost.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell the story of how the triplets came to be, so we did IUI. And we got a positive pregnancy test, and that was around, I think, end of October into November-ish. Well, it would have been actually middle of November to the end of November, and then by the time Christmas came, right? So December 25th, we knew we were pregnant.
And this is all 2023, right?
Yeah, this is 2023. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. And so Christmas Day. We're out with family, and my wife actually has some signs and symptoms of a miscarriage, and so we're thinking,
Jeez.
Doom and gloom, this is
yeah.
work. It's things aren't going well. We're gonna lose a baby here, and it's been a long journey of trying at this point, and so we're sort of down, and well, not sort of down. We're very down,
right?
And we follow up with the OB about 5 days later, sometime between Christmas and New Year's, I believe. And we go into the doctor, and we go with the ultrasound tech, and we sit in the chair, and she's going to check things out. So the moment that Doppler touches my wife's belly, touches Sadie's belly, we see 2, and we're like, okay, she pulls it off quick and says, okay, well, let's check again, let emotions calm of an initial like breathtaking view of two little dots, right? Two circles. And so she puts it back on and she kind of starts scanning, says, well, we have twins. Yep, we have twins. And
Wow.
Sadie and I are like, oh my gosh, like this, it's unbelievable. Like we knew the odds were very, very slim when
Yes.
to get twins out of this. But we have twins. And to make the story a little bit more interesting, my wife has a unique shaped uterus, bicordial uterus, which essentially means it's shaped like a heart, right? And there was the two babies were on the left side. Okay.
Okay.
So two circles on the left side. So the ultrasound tech is on the left side of her of the uterus, and she goes, because she knows my wife's history and anatomy. She goes, okay, well, we identify there's two. Let's check the other side just in case.
Okay.
And she goes over to the other side, and there's one.
Wow.
And what's crazy about it that we still don't know the answer for is when we did the IUI, before doing the actual injections, before the actual act of it, they scanned and she had two follicles on the opposite side, two viable follicles, and which is common. We had two with our first. And so you're thinking, okay, in order for those to be twins, they both have to take, everything has to be successful, etc. And so we knew the chances of twins were low there, but low. And not only did both of them end up taking, either a third follicle or something happened to show up a third baby.
Wow.
On the other side, right? So they not only did they take, but they moved. So we can't get an actual explanation because I don't think there is one. And the triplets are all fraternal, so they all have their own sacs, their own placentas.
Yes.
Not identical. It's two girls and a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was our moment of realizing we have triplets.
And what was the reaction in that room?
Oh, yeah.
They said a third. You guys.
Sadie was a little more calm at that point, and it snuck up later. But there's a picture of me she took where I was literally going like this for like a half hour.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
And if the wall hadn't been there, I would have fallen over. It was just like you don't even know what to believe. We walked in the doors that day thinking we might not have any baby.
You're right.
We have lost it to having three. And
incredible.
Yes, if our journey to get pregnant was long, but if that marks the triplet journey, that day it started out with a lot of angst and anxiety.
That was one hell of a day for sure.
Yes.
Oh my God. Just to only imagine what you guys are feeling walking in those doors and then what you're feeling now leaving that appointment. And it's that's a day to like all that's a full week right there of emotions. I feel like there, no doubt about it. Crammed into like 5 hours maybe, right? Like however long the session from beginning to end when you're doing the drive there, talking to the doctor, and then on your way home. That's that's all crammed in. A week's worth in like 5 hours.
A week's worth of emotion, a lifetime's worth of emotion.
Yes.
In that little thing. And the tech was so excited. She's like, this is the first time I've ever seen triplets. Wow. And I was like, yes, thank you. Like
the techs are always and again, this is, I feel like that's good. I think that's always good. And I feel like maybe that's part of their job where they're like, this is exciting. Same with our techs, we had two in there and they were like, oh my God, it's triplets. Like they were freaking out and they were like, it was like, we never had triplets before. So that's pretty funny.
Yes. I think it must be something like in school when they're educated on this and they're like, well, what if, right? It's a unicorn state of being an ultrasound tech when you first find them. You're not an ultrasound tech on the follow-up appointment saying, oh, I've got triplets coming in here. You're the tech that was just like, let's just check the other side. Oh, there's three, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And you have to have I feel like and maybe one day I'll eventually get like an ultrasound tech on here, but you need a poker face as an ultrasound tech, right? Because you don't know what you're going to run into on any ultrasound. And I feel like my wife and I, when we had gone through the weekly, when I told you about how we went through the weekly ultrasounds, I was always watching the ultrasound tech to kind of see if they gave away any clues of like good or bad. And all the time they were very poker face. Like they always kept it pretty neutral, which I'm very impressed by because
Yes.
that that's tough. That's a tough job. I feel like not all the time, but when you have the hard days, I'm sure they're hard on them.
I give a lot of credit to that position. The case of discovery, she could not hold back her emotions, which looking back, I can't, yeah. But it does add a layer of challenge. And I'm sure any expecting parents do that when they go into a tech visit, whether you got one baby or four babies
Yes.
there. It is anxiety inducing because you don't
Right.
see it usually on the screen in front of you, right? I can see what's
Yep.
happening, but nobody's telling me what's happening. And so you're
Yes.
like, is there something there? Wait for the doctor. I understand why they can't. But so yes, that was our day, which by the way, on the IUI journey, if don't depend on me for just a medical description of the process, but
And that's okay. I will put a disclaimer, right?
okay.
So you won't. Yeah, they won't come after you.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yes. Uh, Actually, my wife's Instagram will articulate her story of that side
That's
much more.
good. So she documented that a little bit.
She has, yeah. So she
Okay.
likes to be an
Great.
inspiration for triplet parents and any parent of multiples and parents in general. So yeah, you can
Awesome.
check out her Instagram at SL Triplets plus one
Sweet.
PLUS.
Sweet. And I'll make sure to put that in the notes too.
Yes. So if you're curious on her, your anatomy is unique as someone trying to conceive. Yes, she's got a lot of answers for you. She's great at sharing her journey. I don't want to speak too far down that path. Let her do it. But that was the emotion of the day
Mm-hmm.
of us finding out, and yeah, it was heavy.
Wow. Yeah, I can relate with you on that because again, we had our third pregnancy, and that's kind of when we walked in blind, not
Yes.
knowing exactly, And so with that first ultrasound, and I wasn't able to go. I don't know if you were able to go to your toddler's ultrasounds because it was around COVID.
Oh,
Well, it was like what,
we
21, 22,
we could
right?
go.
For your toddler?
Might be some that I missed now that
Yeah.
you
Okay.
mentioned that. Yeah, because we
Yeah.
still had to we had to get like a COVID test, and you had to pass your COVID
Yeah.
test in order to go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Precautions had to have been taken. Yeah,
Yeah.
around that time, I would imagine that's very stressful for a lot of expecting parents of not being able to be involved, or I can't imagine not being
Yes.
in the room for triplet
Yes.
announcement.
We were there for that, and that's a good point. I do want to know if there was any. We have to probably try to find a dad who had triplets during COVID and was not able to be
Yeah.
like that first appointment for whatever reason, right? Because of the COVID.
Yes, I want to know. Like, did you tell your partner to like stay where they are and don't
Yeah.
drive? I'll come get you,
Right.
or because that would be a interesting drive home by yourself. That's for sure.
Seriously, or having to like relay that information over the phone, or what I mean, because when the first two pregnancies, Logan was born, my oldest was born, 2021, and that was in March, so that was like the height of COVID. Still. So all of my wife's appointments were in like, second half of 2020. So I couldn't go to any of those.
Hmm.
And then late in my second oldest, she is same deal. Like I still couldn't, Kaiser was not allowing because she was born 2022. Yeah. 2020. Yeah. 2022. So still in that COVID era where they were very strict on letting people in, like more than one person in on these appointments and stuff. So I wasn't able to go to those first two. So you can imagine my first ever ultrasound was the triplet one, and that was pretty intense. I was like, okay.
That is a outlier to what the
Yeah.
experience usually is. But yes, interesting.
Yeah. Well, that is a great story, and I'm sure you've probably had to share this plenty of times with strangers, family, and friends, right? Like especially figuring all this out and going from the lows all the way to the highs.
Yes.
And to be fair, maybe a little bit back down to the lows as you're trying to process this and
Figure
like
it
really
out.
figure out how do we do this, right? Like, because that's a big question there. So you find out. Talk to me about the pregnancy journey. Was there any complications you ran into? Any type of obstacles that you thought you were going to run into, and then and just talk to me about like the delivery of your babies.
Sure. Yeah, the pregnancy journey. here's what, looking back on, because the triplets are, a year and a few months now. Looking back, the pregnancy journey it's not easy. There's, you know, well, anytime you go into an ultrasound for a pregnancy, you watch your baby grow. It can be anxiety inducing when you've got three in there. The doctor's
Yes.
telling you the statistics.
Which, by the way, when did they tell you those
Very
statistics?
that well, this is a good conversation, because I think anybody listening to this in the early side of things, you will feel like you're not so alone. I see that question on triplet forums and conversations a lot. Is like, my doctor told me this and that statistics. Yes,
Yes.
you tend to lead with the statistics. And even that day we found out, we were led with statistics on.
Oh, wow. So they told you right away. Wow.
Right away, the
That's
OB
good. That's
replied,
good.
by the
That's
way, I
good.
have twins, and statistically this, and
That's good.
so immediately was, you like handed this dose of what could happen. And
Yeah.
usually
Yes.
from a medical profession, the what could happen is seemingly negative, because
Mm-hmm.
they sort of have to be in some
They
way.
have to. Yeah, exactly. They have to have that out. Yeah.
But it creeps into your head. So
Yes.
the path was interesting from the sense of that's week 6 or so, and that we're in that appointment, and we know that, well, triplets are, the clinic we were going to would not handle a high risk like that, like triplets. So we had to go to
Okay.
children's in Minneapolis to see their specialists on this. So the next big step in our journey a few weeks after that was going to that clinic to understand, like, okay, if we wanted to continue down this path, what would this look like?
Mm-hmm.
And there the statistics really pour on. And there was a specific meeting. It was the first meeting down there we had with one of their rounding team members, and she actually wrote out week by week, like, what the monumental, like, things were. If you make it to
Okay.
week 12, this happens. If you make it to week 16, this happens, or these are your options. If you make it to
Yeah.
week 20, these are your options, all the way down to like week 30 plus for birth. And we
Wow.
still have that piece of paper, by the way. It's actually in our like keepsake box, because that piece of paper stayed on our fridge with those dates written out as both a reminder and like I don't want to call it like an inspiration. Like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, let's get to there. It was more like the truth of what could happen was laid out for us. And that was just like, you say the highs and the lows. The lowest point, like, that was a really like hard point of, what are we going to do? Because here's time. Like, it's you against time.
Yes. Yeah.
And the options. And so, we talked about it, and me, I'm more calculate risks driven. Like, we have a baby at home at that time.
Right.
A year and a half. Everything's going okay. Do we want to introduce this level of risk into our life? And Sadie was much more mom intuition driven. She said, I have a feeling it's going to work out. And what's funny is who was right? She was right.
Right.
Mom intuition, right? That's not always the case, but in this particular case, mom intuition was right. So our pregnancy, from a baby's health, from a Sadie's health perspective, actually was very, very good. I don't have any like notable this happened or this. We did have a few scares.
Yes.
It seems all pregnancies have scares at some point.
Right.
We had a scare at about 20 weeks. A lot of pain. And so we did have to go to the hospital for that, get it checked out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
The conclusion was babies are fine. Things are growing. There's going to be some pain here because there's 3 in them at one time. And the growth is just that much faster than a normal pregnancy or traditional singleton pregnancy.
Yes.
And I believe that similar thing happened one more in the late 20, week 20-ish. But looking back, everything was good, went very well.
Awesome.
Sadie made it to 36 weeks. So we
which is fascinating. Yeah.
Which is on the average for triplets is what, 32? You got
if that.
32,
Yeah.
32-ish.
Yeah, I would
You get
say
the
30,
goal.
32 definitely
Yep.
seems to be the most common from
Yep.
what I've seen on like online. I guess we got to look at the statistics from all the medical professionals, but I think yeah, like I think dude, 36 weeks is I don't know if it was just like, and I think every institution's different as
Yes.
far as like in the States, right? Like Kaiser, for example, who we went with, I
Yep.
believe they were like 34 is like your max.
Your max. Yep.
Like that's yeah, I think with triplets like 34 is your max. So and I think that may vary. And that also of course it depends on like, how the babies are doing, and there's so many variables in this. It's not like a one size fits all, right? So yeah. But 36 weeks, I mean, hats off to your wife, man, because that
Yeah.
is
She
a
did.
huge
She
accomplishment.
did very well. We made it. It's like once we hit 30, most appointments were like, okay, if they come, we'll take care of them. We take care of 30 weeks, 30-week babies quite frequently. That relieved some stress. Didn't relieve all the
Mhm.
stress, but yeah, I think at that point we were just concerned like growth, right? There's three in there, one being a little smaller. Just wanted to watch that growth.
Yes.
So yeah, we made it all the way to our appointment, and mom's intuition was right from the beginning.
That's a great talking point because I think a lot of parents run into like having different opinions of or feelings, especially when we talk about something like high risk pregnancy like this. It was like being able to be vocal about that is important in a relationship,
Yes.
and on and not on a to get on a political side. It's just that in general, like my wife and I are very like pro choice. We have nothing like against whatever anyone decides, like whether left or like where you go one way or you go the other, like that is totally everyone's decision. Everyone's got to make their own decisions, so there's no judgment on that end. um, but I think it's very valuable that you were vocal about your like not about your what you were feeling at that time, because I had also running those scenarios. Like it was kind of like you're trying to figure out like what is like there's so much that can happen here, and especially when we found out about the severe growth restriction with Samara, which was baby B. We were running into a lot of those are like the big complications that were like, hey, like you similar how you had those milestones on the fridge, we were given something similar to that, but basically it was all through an email, like written notes, like the doctor's notes is how we were keeping track of it. But it was just like, okay, here's where you gotta reach for, we know about 20 weeks, okay, because there were certain procedures that would have to get done before then if things took for the worst turn. But no, that's very important. That's very important to be able to you two be able to have different like thoughts on it initially and be able to talk through it together, because you can't do it without it.
Yes. Yeah, it's here's what I'll say on the political stance of a reduction, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
that you're faced with the choice. That's the difference. You're faced with a choice. You're given
Mm-hmm.
an option. Now, whether or not wherever you fall in your belief, again, I respect the heck out of that. You do.
Yes.
Everyone can do what they want to do, but it's different when you're given a choice to do it or not. And
You're right.
some may say, absolutely not. I'm not going on that path. But what's an interesting mindset of like now you have a choice to make, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
100% confident in your choice that's good, that's fine. But presented with the choice is a life experience in itself, and
Mm-hmm.
like
It
um,
is.
it's not everybody's like you find out you're having multiples, you find out you're having triplets. Now I have a choice to make because they exist, like they're in there, right?
Yes.
Now, whether or not I could be pro-choice, it was absolutely like, Sadie, what are you feeling comfortable with? It's an interesting thought that because on that fridge on our list was like, this is the last date you can make a choice until going further, or you can
Right.
go back to the other. Like,
You're past the point of no
yeah,
return, right? Because
right.
like something happens, it's going to affect all three of them at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, whether or not we believed one thing or the other, or, for religious or political purposes,
Mm-hmm.
that schedule was still on our fridge,
Yes.
and you can act with some level of confidence in like, okay, mom's intuition is going to work, I feel good about this. But then when you go in the fridge every day, you're reminded that you only have so much time left to make that decision. That
Right.
decision can impact your entire family, and like that weighs on you every day. And I do describe, since we're on the topic of like the journey of the pregnancy,
Hmm.
I still say this. Kids are, we got a family. If we have 4 kids upstairs, I still say this: the pregnancy was harder than taking care of them. We had some very difficult nights of 3 babies and a witching hour that lasted an hour and a half, and that was very hard. But the anxiety and seeing that schedule and knowing that we could have 3 kids and something could happen and there's things out of
Yes.
my control, and Sadie can go into labor on week 24, and now we've got months, a year of a NICU journey, all depending.
Hmm.
And knowing that the choice can still be made to not go forward with that is just a really heavy thing to walk around with. And
Yeah.
being on the other side of that, I have much more clarity to the journey and reflection. But it is a journey. So it gave me a great appreciation for moms. I'll tell you that. Like again, 1 or 3, 4, whatever number of kiddos,
Yeah.
it's still like you're always met with that angst and that choices. But yeah, so on one sense, really, really like great outcome. Mom's intuition worked for the kiddos. For me, being dad, supporting all of this, it was just it was angsty, right? How are we gonna, do we have space for everybody? How's our toddler going to react? Are we going to be able to do this? Can we financially do it? Do we have enough help? Like, what can all the kids fit in our car? Do we got to get a new car? All of those things, of course, happened and went through my head, and we solved one step at a time. But looking back on the other side of it, yeah, that pregnancy it's a challenging one to go through.
It is. I think I hear like when you can do when you try to find the gender reveals and like you're
Mhm.
going through the ultrasounds and trying to figure out the genders and all that. Well, one of the spots we would always go to when we lived in California was they specialized in doing like the 3D ultrasounds and stuff like that. And so we had always grabbed like their heartbeats because they would sell like the stuffed animals. Now if I listen to those heartbeats, like ultrasounds kind of give me a bit of anxiety, like because you're just hearing the heart, like and I just remember it just keeps taking me back into that room when we're with the triplets and they're going baby by baby and you're in there for like over an hour as they're trying to measure. They have to take the heartbeat of everything. Like it's crazy. Like um they go through like the umbilical cord. Like they you hear that, then you go to the heartbeat, and it just takes me back to that time where we were just like just full of anxiety. Like we're like, how is this going to turn out? Because we were always on like that weekly watch.
Yeah, the gender we did a small gender reveal in our backyard. Had 3 boxes out there. Each one was filled with a associated color balloon, for the
Hmm.
2 girls and a boy. And we made all of our family put a wager on what they thought the combination was.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I thought for sure I was gonna get at least one boy out of the three. I was like, oh, it's gonna be maybe two or one or whatever. All girls. It was
all
crazy. Oh,
girls.
yeah. I was like, oh wow,
Do girls run in like your
exciting.
family? Do you have like sisters or
Oh
aunts? Like,
no, I have two brothers. I have a
okay.
stepsister and I have two brothers. And on my dad's side, it's all male. Well, I have a great aunt, but like my I have an aunt, my dad only had one brother. So for the most part, we were pretty like boy heavy. So and when my firstborn was a boy, I was like, oh, it's gonna pretty much follow the same path. But they kind of did like a complete,
Complete flip.
flipped on us because started with a boy and then all of a sudden the next four were all girls, which has
Yes.
been awesome. And I can get into all about the countless stories you hear about having daughters that people will tell you, good and bad. Yeah, that everyone always feels like the
Sure.
need to chime in. Um, so you and I had talked about when you and I first spoke. We talked a little bit about something that I thought was really interesting was, and something that we both related on was kind of like the isolation of having triplets, and not like an isolation and like a complaining. It's just I don't like people truly don't understand until you're in until you're in those shoes of having the three babies at once. Like from the pregnancy journey all the way till they're born and you're taking care of them as newborns. Like that whole journey is interesting because you have people excited about it, like family, friends, and then this may be an issue of a social media and
Mhm.
people being just in general like desensitized to these things. But you know, it just like I don't know, it almost feels like, and I know it's all of our choice to have triplets. Like, of course, it's all of our choice, and like you obviously can go different routes about it, and then people have. Um, but at the end, like I don't know, it's just you get what I'm trying to say. It's like there's some things that just people don't get, like they don't understand like why there's no fast like text backs calls, why it's not as simple as us just to be able to wake up, take the whole family out, and especially you and I, because we don't
Yeah.
just have three, we have four and more.
Yeah.
Like I
4
got
and
five,
5.
you have your four.
Yeah.
Like, and they're super young. Like you don't have like a 20-year-old and then
Yeah.
triplets. Like you have
Yeah.
literally still a toddler who's still
Yeah.
figuring out the independence, and they're still very um, clingy. As far as like do they go. So, anyway, just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it. Well, first, I have 4 kids and they barely fit into my Kia van. What kind of car do you drive? Do you drive 2 cars?
Toyota. Oh my gosh, it's the van, the Toyota
The van?
van.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Sierra. It's the oh dude, hold on.
The,
I can't believe I'm forgetting this. But anyways.
the question was great. That's part of it, like the logistics, right? Of it. Yeah. It can be, it can be very isolating. In the similar sense that I think when you become new parents, right? So for anyone out
Sorry,
there,
Toyota Sienna.
there you go. Okay, Sienna.
Yeah, great vehicle. It fits all 5 car seats and pretty safe, hybrid, all that.
Okay, well, we
But
got to talk
anyways.
about car seats later.
Yeah.
Another time, how to get them all in there. Maybe
Yeah.
when we're past stroller days and it's less cumbersome because you don't
Yes.
have to fit the stroller in the back. Yeah, it's if you've been a first time parent, when the everyone's so excited. You do baby
Mm-hmm.
showers, people drop
Mm-hmm.
off food, baby comes home, it's a big thing. And that big thing and that kind of baby's home now for at least in our experience, it lasts 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, right? Baby's home. Then once that 6 week is over, now your adrenaline wears off, your honeymoon
Yes.
phase is over, you're waking up multiple times per night, not
Mm-hmm.
sleeping. By 6 weeks post birth, it's highly likely that someone's going back to work, right?
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
It just depending on leave, uh, and then it becomes kind of isolating. You're like, okay, well, here we are by ourselves taking care of this child, and where is everyone? Well, everyone's kind of off doing their own thing, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's the world we live in. You mentioned social media. Maybe our lack of community isn't exactly as defined as what it was, 30,
Yes.
40 years ago. Whether it's neighbors, community, your work community, your family community. It's easy for siblings of ours just to get up and go live in a different state, and
Right.
just because they want to. That there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
Yeah.
what it is. Your village
Yes.
is not as there. And so what we found was interesting was we would have folks come to us say, this is the most interesting thing I've ever seen. I've never seen triplets before. I hope you have a village.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope. Well, I
It's
do
like
have a village, but right
yeah.
now I
It's
just found out my schedule is I've got 6 more weeks to have this anxiety and make a decision, right? But yes,
yeah.
it's an isolating event. From it becomes in an odd way, it's the most interesting thing anybody has ever seen in a family dynamic, because the chances are very good that everyone you talk to has never seen triplets before.
Right.
Or if they have, they've heard of somebody, or someone's friend had them, or so and so was a triplet, but I've never seen triplets with my friend group or my family group. And then all of a sudden time continues and they're here, and that sort of like spectacle excitement kind of wears off, and you become sort of just like everybody else who's just like, okay, well, now I'm in my house taking care of these kids, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's doing their own thing. And it's a reflection of your village is what I've had. at least. And did I
Yes.
support every friend and family member when they had a baby who brought home? No, I probably didn't. Right. And it took bringing home 3 babies in one day to realize that, like, okay, well, we don't, this is sort of isolating. This is the
Hmm.
biggest thing anybody has ever accomplished that I know of from a family birth perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't really like, we've got a handful of people who are very, very helpful. And our family's not that big, right? So I'm not, this isn't negative, positive intent assumed. It's just, you just don't, you really realize what your typical social engagements are when you bring home those kiddos, and now you're in the thick of it. And then
Yeah.
it's the keeping up with your life, right? Just the other day, 3.5-year-old and 1-year-olds, so 4 kids under 3.5. And
Yeah.
someone asked me at a kid's birthday party. He said, I haven't seen him in some time. He goes, so what you been doing? What kind of hobbies are you into? Hobbies. I start taking care of kids at 6:30 in the morning, and I take care of kids until
Yeah.
9 o'clock at night. And
Yep.
I go to sleep and I hope that they sleep through the night.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
is a hobby. There's nothing else. I don't do anything else. Uh, which there's a lot of pride and joy. I think you set the precedence well. This isn't a whole negative thing, but what this is
Yes.
like some of the biggest realizations that I had when I brought the kids home, when we went through pregnancy, was this, right? Like this is feelings that you don't find articulated always in reading about what it's like to have triplets. Even some triplet content creators who do a wonderful job of documenting triplet life. You can't always see it that way. Like you can watch families on YouTube who document triplets and what bath time routines look like, and you're like, yes,
Yeah.
that looks hard.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. But then you're like, you come home and you're just like, what like we're within our house. We can't. It's hard to go anywhere.
It's tough.
Hence the
Yeah.
car conversation, right?
Yeah.
I remember I'm going in all different directions, but I remember our maiden voyage with the Peg Parago triplet stroller. So if you're looking up triplet strollers, Peg Parago triplet strollers, the three the long way, like, so it's not side
Hmm.
by side, it's just three long way. I mean, it looks
Just,
like a
yeah.
semi. It's like a semi truck. Like you're just pushing
Gotcha.
the thing along, and it's just
It's
like
it's the semi truck
car seat, car seat, car
of
seat.
strollers.
Yes.
Semi truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you gotta, like, if you're going into a building and there's 2 doors, you gotta like make sure the handicap button's pushed on both so you can get your whole
Yeah.
truck through.
Fit it through. Yep.
Remember the maiden voyage of that, and like that was how we got out, was like taking a walk with that thing.
Hmm.
That was our out for
That was,
a
yeah.
long time until we got used to putting them in a car, and then it was the same thing. Like you can only go so many places. So
You can. Yeah.
yeah,
Without help too.
yeah.
It's just, you know what I mean? And that's the hard part. Like where that's kind of where I'm struggling a bit because there's only two of us parent wise. It's hard to give all the kids equal attention
Hmm.
without like some type of help, right? And that's tough because like that's different because when you're just one child, you have two or three, but if they're all like singletons and they're all like they're all spaced out, where they have, they're developing at different rates, and you're still able to kind of have that attention wise because as like you have alone time with the first, second one, you can still figure out that alone time, right? Because naps and coordinating school and all that. And then the third one comes in, and again, when they're one by one, you can still coordinate like solid alone time. When they all come in at once, you it's hard to do that with all three of them like equally, right? It's like, but the two of you can, but like one on one as like a dad, you're trying to like, make sure everyone gets like that bonding time with you. And for us, it's hard without getting people involved, like help, which sucks because what I find often, what I do is I will take the toddlers somewhere and then the triplets stay.
Yes.
And then I feel like I'm not getting enough bonding. Like I just wish I would be able to take everybody, but they're still little. Like my girls are a year and a half. Like you mentioned, it's just not as easy just to be able to go somewhere because you're dealing with like three babies who are going to have personality. Babies cry. Babies are like they're little kids. Like they don't behave the best always. you're trying to juggle that by yourself. It's like impossible. Like trying to make sure like everyone stays happy all throughout, like wherever we go. So things just don't. It's not simple. Like it's not as easy to go where people do it, and hats off to them. Like really, like like I applaud you seriously. But it still doesn't mean that it's like easy. Like it's hard.
Yeah, the window we're in. I I suspect we'll say is the when they start walking, they can start be a little more independent. You're gonna that should relieve itself. The one-on-one time is still going to be always going to be challenging.
Yes.
The logistics of it is challenging. We actually Sadie and I were talking about that the other day on how much we used to go for a walk when our oldest learned how to walk. Put him in shoes on, let's go walk around, and the triplets are at that point. But we can't get everybody outside to go walk. So our only option is, a combination stays inside, some combination that's manageable for someone outside goes, or we get home. So it's all in the context of like they're healthy, which is absolutely wonderful. Like couldn't want anything more. Then the challenge is like your dad emotions kick in. Am I giving everyone attention? Are we giving them opportunities to, be able to walk outside when when they can learn how to walk? And you not to be cliche about it, you do like the very best you can. You remove distractions and get on their level for as many minutes as you can, and that has to be enough. I mean, it doesn't feel like enough, but it has to be enough. Yeah. So we kind of went from isolation to logistics, which I think
Still isolation still
it's
falls
still
under
yeah,
because you don't, because again you can't, like again, like you see kids, you see parents take, like when before we had the triplets, we took the kids to Disneyland.
yes,
You know what I mean? And we were able to do that. That of course that's hard because you have two under two, right? And they're like, so that's still tough. But it's a lot more doable because there's only two. you know Now I can't imagine trying to take all of them to Disneyland right now, because then I got to figure out traveling, I got to figure out like the car, like and then I got two toddlers who are potty training, who are pretty much potty trained, but they're still, of course, they're 3 and 4, like they're going to run into, especially
yes,
on long trips, like right, you get out of their environment, take them out of that, always things that add up. And then you got the triplets, year and a half, obviously still in diapers right now for us. So we're figuring out, like I usually, you look at and you see people, and that's the hard thing about social media, is that you see people sharing like the best life, and it's really important to really not compare yourself, because it's easy for someone, especially some of, like, there's a lot of influencers out there, child parent influencers, who do a really good job of just capturing like the peak life of every, like make it look like everything is this and this. Like there's a triplet dad who I gotta reach out to this guy, but I'm sure you've seen it. He goes viral on TikTok and stuff, and he's like, he does like the crazy inventions with like, putting the strollers, taking them to Home Depot. They're all staged because, like, his wife's recording, but he does a really good job of making it look like, they make it look like he's not doing that. And then he's like building stuff all the time. And I'm like, okay, how do you have this much time to do all these things? And maybe, he finds a way, and I'm sure he does. But like, once you stop, when you stop comparing yourself to others, especially with the social media side, I think you kind of find a lot more like ease, like comfort and like peace of mind, you know what I mean? Because you realize, like, as long as you know in your heart you're doing the best possible job that you can do, um like that's enough, and like you kind of gotta, stop that comparison, stop figuring out what other people think, because people have always gonna have a ton of opinions.
I I've seen a lot of his videos. People actually send me a lot of his videos.
Yeah, I get sent the videos too.
Like the creative ideas. Someday I will aspire to have my own workshop and build my own stuff for my kids.
Yeah.
To their credit, though, I will say he and his wife have also shared like the dark moments too.
Oh, okay. I
They
don't follow
like,
him. I just get the funny trending videos.
yes, yeah. I mean, there's some posts where it's just like, hey, here's our kitchen of the day, right? Like,
Okay.
this is not glamorous all the time.
Yeah.
So he does do that too. I mean, to strike the balance of like yeah. It can be hard. I mean, we're all doing the same thing, just in our own homes, right? Taking care of 3 kids at a time, 4 kids, 5 kids at a time. making sure everyone's fed, changed, healthy. But
Right.
yeah, back to your point. There's a feeling that you have when you have triplets of that logistics of for an example, I took our oldest to a soccer, activity, right? Signed up for soccer, just playing soccer. He's having a lot of fun. I was there and it was my turn, right? Because we have to take turns, right? Taking the toddler places. And I look over and there's a family next to me with like their kids playing with my kid, their oldest, and then there's one baby with them who's probably about 8 or 9 months old,
Yeah.
on the blanket, right? They're all there. And you look over and you're kind of like, well, that was the plan for me, right? Like
Hmm.
the plan was to have, spaced out kids. But now the plan for this, for what I'm sure I will look back on as a very, a challenging early years, when there will be a time when we can haul everybody over. But right now, you look over and you're like, I want to be that, but I can't, because if I brought
Yeah.
triplets here, that just wouldn't work, right? I mean,
It
I
just,
can put them
yeah.
all in the wagon, sure. I can put them all in the stroller, sure. That's not going to last that long.
No.
Logistically, your divide and conquer is just magnified when you've got that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully there's an offset to it when they're all the same age and the same classes and the same, maybe they're in the same activities where you can take one trip to a sporting event instead of 4 trips everywhere around the city. But
Yeah.
maybe we'll get our return, our easy phase. I'm not counting on it, but maybe.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. I mean, you look at the Triplet Dad group on Facebook, and there's a lot of older dads in there
Yeah.
whose kids are like fully grown, and they're really nostalgic about this stage that you and I are in. Like, we're still in the 1 year old stage, and they're like, "Man, I miss those days." Like, it sucked. Like, of course, it like obviously sucked. Like, the sleep deprivation sucked and stuff like that. Like, those growing pains were tough. But when you look back at it, you're like, okay, I would go back to those days just to, like, have another bit of that again. So I do think we will get there. We're in the thick of it still, you and I, like, very much. It's very challenging. Like you said, you can't just go. Someone will be like, well, why can't you just put them in a stroller and take them to the game? Or what? Okay, well, when they're past 1 years old and they're learning to walk, sitting down is not ideal. Like, they're wanting to move. Like, my girls in the wagon are like constantly they see the toddlers walk around. They're like, we want to do that. And I'm like, oh, great. If we let you do that, then we, like, you guys scatter, and then we're having to like keep an eye on 4 or 5 kids, and I'm like, all right, this is hard.
Yeah, we were at a birthday party and they were out in the yard and they started to scatter and I look over and one of our triplets is like eating rocks and I was like, oh my god, like I gotta I gotta go. And meanwhile, someone's trying to talk to me,
Yes, everyone's like
and it's
always having
like
conversations.
I
Yeah,
can't have this conversation. Like your kids are,
it's
you
tough.
know,
Yeah,
6 and 8 and running around doing something. And I was like, well, I got four and one of them's about to break her teeth on rocks, so I gotta go get
yeah, yeah. Like, we're listening, but you can't. We have to multitask. Like, there's no other way to do it. Like, you have to multitask right now, because again, we go to my wife's. We're in a town where my wife's side, where my wife's from, and so a lot of her cousins and stuff are in town. They have little kids and stuff, and every birthday party gathering we've been to this year, like, we have help with the kids, with the babies, right? It's great. However, there's still a lot of elements to it when you have multiple. As they're like, you're checking to make sure it's like, who has this one, who has that baby. Okay, all right, cool. You're always like kind of like scanning always, because again, there's 3 of them. Like, you're always trying to figure that out.
yeah, yeah,
I think what is also adds to the isolation part a bit is the comments people give you, because I think people will try to, and this is not a vent fest like we've said before. It's just a little bit like people will try to be, they try to make small talk, and everyone does it in their own way. And sometimes it comes across, nicer. Sometimes it comes across like I don't know, like a very weird comment. You're like, okay, that's like, think twice before what you say, right? Like, like, because I hear that not just while having daughters, but in general, like the multiples aspect, where people will try to, make light of situations, or, and you do get those really great uplifting comments. Like, I can't tell you how many people have told me like how blessed we are, how lucky we are. And those are always great to hear, because, you do, in the hard times, you have to remind yourself of that, because like the hard times are obviously very hard and the great times are just amazing. But I have people, say, better you than me. Like my wife's had someone told her, my wife had someone tell her, uh, it's like, oh my God, I would just kill myself if I had that many like babies. Like, you know what I mean? And you're just like, okay. Like, or when you went back to I hope you have a village. It's
Yes.
like, it's almost like saying, like, when you say something like that, or it's like you get those comments too, um, where you're like, okay, that's like if someone has like, okay, like, and like my mom's personally, she's a cancer survivor. It's like someone, if you had cancer, someone tells you like, oh, you have cancer? I will hope you have good medical coverage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I hope like, I hope there's a cure. Like, I hope
Be
chemo
prepared.
works. Like, yeah, be prepared. Like, yeah, it's like, you're just like, kind of like, and if you don't have that village, you're just putting more fear into that person, where you're like, oh God, I guess I didn't think about that, or whatever. It's like, thanks a lot. Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I feel on that.
Yeah, it's an awareness. I think it's good to talk about for us as guys, because if you have multiples, you can relate to it. If you don't have multiples yet, it's good to know what's coming, so you can
Hmm.
think about it, prepare. You're a spectacle when you go places, especially if you've got a big stroller, right? It
Yes.
does magnify. Like, everyone can see that I have this gigantic stroller, and am I bringing it on myself? Sure. Did I want it? No. Yeah, every comments are positive intent. I do believe that all the
They
comments we
are.
get are positive, but it has made me reflect on the source of them. First of all, like, we've had anxiety around this pregnancy, this particular set of kids, since the day we found out they were there, right? Like, that's a long time to have, an anxiety inducing um, pregnancy. Again, I'll go back to it. Like, all pregnancies are anxiety inducing. When you find out there's three in there, it's magnified. And so I've been thinking about this for a lot of, like, my most recent life, and it's stressful. And then when you go out to a grocery store, to a mall, you get comments like, yes, like you said, better than you than me. Wow, you got your hands full. And it's not that one person meant bad doing.
Yeah.
It's the 17 other people who are going to say something after that person said something in the
Hmm.
next 30 minutes until I get back to my car.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hope my kids don't start crying, for whatever reason, and make this a fun
Right.
experience out, because it's the first time we've gone out in 3 weeks. So um, and what's interesting about the comment is, it's like, what I've noticed is, and I've learned through this, not that I haven't been guilty of it throughout points in my life or events in my life, is like, people think about themselves, like, first, like, I can't imagine doing that. Well, that's not about me or my kids. Number one, it's about you and
Hmm.
your reaction.
Yeah.
And people say, like, oh, that must be exciting.
Yeah.
Well, if you mean exciting from a positive, or do you mean exciting from a stressful? Yes. So
Hmm.
we're kind of jumping to, like, the situation.
Yeah.
And people just, like, the boundaries of it, you just don't want to be reminded you're a spectacle at times. Like, I didn't
Right.
want to be a walking spectacle through the mall. I had
Hmm.
some lady came. This was like our second or third time out, very early on. She literally came up to me and put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Oh, bless you. You must be so busy at home." And it was like positive intent. She meant
Yeah.
well,
Right.
but
They do. They do mean
they
well for the
do.
most part. Yeah.
Uh, and I do, like, yes, they are very healthy. I'm grateful for that. But sometimes when you're in this thick of it, as parents, like, do you really want other people, like, coming up to you, commenting first, like, don't touch me, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't touch strangers.
Yeah.
And the way you equated it to, like, a scenario of a cancer survivor, your mom, right? You wouldn't want those comments. Imagine if if you were a parent of one child, and that one child was having the biggest tantrum in the middle of a store that you could possibly imagine. Would that parent want somebody coming up to them and saying, "You've got your hands full"?
Right.
No, you would never see that. No,
Right.
nobody
No, you
would
wouldn't.
ever come up and tell you got your hands full with one kid. It happens with three because it's so unique. and it's probably going to happen for a while. And, until they're big enough to run around, and then hey, it's just a family of 6. Seen that before.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting conversation where it's important, and I think why it's important that you brought it up is because it's just the emotional toll of the whole experience of it. It's not a singular person. The lady who touched my shoulder was not ill intent. She didn't mean to be. It's just because you hear it everywhere, whether you're walking in your neighborhood or you're walking out in public or you're going to a restaurant, it's always there. So
Yeah.
I found myself to be very polite in public. Hi, how are you? Good. How are you? But then it got to a point where some people would say something and I literally wouldn't look at them because that day I just couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle it. Took us 30 minutes to get in the car. Took us 20 minutes to get here. One kid's crying. I know it's interesting for you to look at. I'm going to keep walking.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So it goes back to what the expectations could be when we do go out. There's been times logistically we got up enough courage and energy, I should say. We got enough energy to want to go out, but then it was just we just didn't want to deal with the comments that day.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll, it just happened to be the mood we're in because we didn't get much sleep.
Yeah.
Or, we're feeling a little bit down about the situation, but that's my experience with some comments. They're there. They might continue to be there for a bit. Some of them are great. And some people, I know you said this, some people might really enjoy that recognition and that appreciation. And that's okay too.
Yeah. Yes.
Wherever you're at, it's where you're at. It's just, it's an experience I just didn't have any way to anticipate or expect or prepare for that matter. Right. Us dads, is my stroller ready? Is the car ready? Are all the seats buckled in? Do we have our diaper bag? Is everybody good? We're in the car. Let's go to our favorite spot. I want to provide this experience. And then you're just sort of oogled at. Someone even took a picture of us.
And, okay, yeah.
And
that'd be tough.
My wife was like, "Yeah, can you stop? Can you put that away?"
I think no matter what, taking a photo of anybody in public is, come on, you gotta. I feel like that's a fair criticism and complaint. I don't think there's, that would be the one time where we'd be like, all right, anyone out there, you can talk to, you can give your compliments and all that, totally, make conversation.
Yes.
That's okay. Taking photos, come on now. That's just too far.
That's tough. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's, go ahead.
These are elements of some of the hardest parts. There's a lot of hard parts, but what you and I have talked about, some of these can be just mentally chip away at you type parts.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. They're the funniest little crew of 3 and 4. If you count the toddler, and it's going to continue to be just hilarious to watch them as a dad, right? I get all the joy of being a dad. You just want to be the best dad you can be, and managing it with everything going on in life is just it's an interesting journey. I did have a bit of you said earlier about some feeling of nostalgia and looking back and missing the good days.
Yes.
We're trying to sell our triplet stroller, our first one, and
I saw that your wife put it on her story. Yeah.
And I put it up and I got it all together and I got it cleaned, and I for a flash I had this level of they're not in this anymore. I pushed this around in the most interesting days of my life, right? Of having newborn triplets and what's this going to be, and now I'm getting rid of it. And that is anytime you move past something, you get rid of your crib, you get rid of a bouncer, you're like, oh, okay, my kids are getting older. And now I had that for one of the early times. The triplet thing has been so overwhelming to me. It's been harder to make that personal connection to things and outfits and whatnot, because you've got 3 of running around versus our first. But this was a moment of we're not, this isn't a part of our life anymore. They're older than this now.
Right.
It's
yeah.
Still there. All the feelings are still there. They're just sort of they're hidden sometimes by everything else happening.
Yeah, I feel you on that, and I think the next stage you're going to probably feel that at is going to be the bottles, because ours stopped taking bottles 2 months, almost 2 months ago, and so now they're officially past that. So I looked at all of our bottles, and I had missed it. I honestly had missed that last chapter because of work. Because they were in California, I was working from home, and then when we moved to Colorado, I got an office space because we were staying at our in-laws, and it was just way too tight, like to be able to work from there. So I was gone from the morning to the after, like basically to the evening every day. And from that stage when we moved, they had gone. You slowly take away a bottle as they get older and older, and finally they were down to one. Well, their one bottle was at 3 p.m. when I wasn't here, so I had missed that whole last, except on the weekends. But anyways, I had seen the bottle, and I noticed that like in the kitchen, like things were gone. And I'm like, oh yeah, like the bottle stage is over. Like no more. Like I remember all the countless photos you have of feeding them and of you just having them laid out. And and this is tough because I mean, I don't know about you, but this is like, I got snipped. I'm done. Like there's no more kids. Like this is like our last chapter. And you gotta realize like there's no more babies after this. Like that part of your life is now done. And now you're raising.
Closed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's closed.
they're
Exactly.
gonna blow through it quickly. Someone,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're out of all this stuff. That was an interesting, like much like the last any family that decides they're done having kids, right? They move out their stuff, but when you have like four kids and then everything moves out so quickly, like
Yeah.
we're done with it. We don't need it anymore. But you have so much stuff too. We have
Hmm.
three car seats to get rid of. I have three sets of pajamas to get rid of that are
Yeah.
6 month. Like it's not just a few things. Like
It's a lot.
it's three of everything, and you
Yeah.
have so much stuff going out of your house that at one time for a certain category of size and age that I do anticipate being a little nostalgic about like bottle certain things being transitional, because up to now it's just sort of like get this stuff. I'm so overwhelmed with things.
Yeah.
Get some of this out so I can just clear some space so we can feel like we're not you know uh, overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly. So get ready, man. I mean, you and I are pretty much going to be
Yeah,
neck and neck as far as these
similar
stages
path.
go. Because yeah, I'm just a little ahead of you right now because of the bottles, but
Yeah,
um, yeah, soon it'll be. I think we're gonna probably look back. Hopefully, you know, all goes well for me. Like I'm hoping I'll be lucky if I can look back and see them, all the way to like adulthood. Like that'd be amazing. Because I know I'll be looking back and being like I can't believe we had these triplets and I missed that
yes,
chapter. It's gonna be like a blur.
yeah. That's an
Yeah.
interesting perspective too. I wanted to that thought. I get a lot of comments around like you're going to love it, right? Like, okay,
Hmm.
imagine the holidays 10 years from now.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that sounds really great. You sort it's sort of like it, investing in your future. Yes, you always want to invest in your future, but the now can be very challenging. I get some of those comments like, well, just you're gonna love it. It's gonna be so great. Meanwhile, I've had like 3 hours of sleep, right? I can't go anywhere. So like, yeah, that's sort of the thick of it, right? And to
Right.
your point, it's an interesting human dynamic of like missing those days. Like I miss when my baby was this way, even though it was incredibly like exhausting and semi painful in some aspects of it. But yeah, your future self will thank you. Well, turns out it is true. It just can be hard to see sometimes.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm seeing now as we're like as they're getting to past a year and a half. Like you start, it's just crazy. They're only a year and a half, and you're already having like flashbacks of like the newborn, and that you miss that, and you get a little bit of a nostalgic feeling for it. But um, you know we have a lot of kids, you and I, so we have.
That's right.
I think our future selves will thank us, having a big family, which I saw a statistic that said big families are only for the like elite wealthy. Like that's like a wealth status, and I was like,
Yeah.
I hate to tell you this, that's not true. I mean, planned maybe, but I think there's a lot of people who don't make six figures who have four or more kids, like myself included. So I'm like, hey, you don't need to be a millionaire to have as many kids as you and I do. Like
No,
you
that's
you figure it out.
You will figure it out. It can be expensive if you
It
make
is,
it
yes.
super expensive. It is
Right.
interesting. I do think maybe perhaps if you had 4 kids over your life, according to that study, right, it'll cost you X, or you need to be of X income. But that's assuming they're spaced out. They're all at once, right? You share
Mhm.
resources, like
Yeah, that's true.
you don't buy new resources for the same window, right? You're like, you use it, you're done with it, you move on, instead of keeping something around or getting the newest stuff. Or, I do wonder if there's something to that. Yes,
Yeah.
an individual kid, you still have to like pay for formula for a kid, you pay for diapers for a kid. Yes, that is true. But there are ways to do it. I mean, of course, it's nice to have like health insurance and the structurally set yourself up for financial success. Yes, of course. Like it does have to be there. But from like a day-to-day thing, we have realized, going full circle on our conversation, you spend a lot less money doing things in your early years, and all
Hmm.
the money, your income, does go to like keeping everybody comfortable and happy and fed and taken care of, and you're investing in different ways in your home if you can,
Yes.
to make it more comfortable, to make no, I don't love to buy new windows in my nursery, but it's a lot less drafty, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
your resources go there and to them, rather than your fun, right? You mentioned you're going to
Yes.
Disney World with the kiddos before the triplets came. That's not happening anymore.
Yeah. Not for a while.
Yeah.
No. You got time. Yeah. No. I think yeah, you're spot on about that. Like I think to all the dads out there listening, and parents in general, but like the dads, I think and society's like our society, US society has changed a bit. It's not so much always the dad who is the breadwinner. That's shifted a lot. Like, what I mean? Like, it's used, that's definitely not. But and I guess it's just a message to whether you're the dad or the mom. If and I know the mom's gonna have tons more pressure about having the child because of course they're birthing the child and they're the one physically going through it. And I think that I would like to say, like, don't stress about like the finances or how you're going to do it. You know what I mean? I think obviously there's everyone's circumstances are different and where they're at in life is going to be different. But I think coming from someone who went from 2 to 5 and I'm 30 years old, like we figured it out and we couldn't have done without family help. And hopefully, you know, that is an option for a lot of people. And, if it's not, like, I know plenty of people who have been able to pull through. I think it's just, not so much like I'm not saying like, oh, only like a victim will fail at this. Like if you play victim, you're going to fail. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that like people figure it out. Like your parent instincts, you're like, you got to really bring it to the plate and do it for your child. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it isn't it like your stressors change, right? And you do figure it out, and your what you think about goes from like, you think about the next month, you think about the next year, and it like condenses. You think about that day, you think about that moment, right? We're out of formula. Better go figure out how to get some more, right? Like that.
Yeah.
It's just your thinking shortens and you accomplish the day. And sometimes there's a quote at the end of the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, right?
Hmm.
Also a great book. But The Martian, what does he say at the very end? Like he gets back to Earth, teaching a course in school. If you've seen the movie, it's great. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. No,
Martian?
I've been
Okay,
wanting
go
to.
watch The Martian.
Wait, actually, I did watch it.
Excellent.
It's I did because he doesn't he do like the whole like he gets there and then he starts like greenhouse too a little bit like
Yes.
veg like
Yeah.
starts yeah okay.
Deposit.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but yes.
Yep. So at the end of the movie, he goes, something around, I'm going to paraphrase, but surviving in space, right? You solve one problem, then you solve the next problem, then you solve the next problem, then you solve the next problem, and maybe you get to go home, right? And that's exactly what this becomes.
Right.
Solve the next problem, you make
Well
it
said.
through this witching hour, you go to bed, you feed them again. Like that's all like what I'm sure most parents would say about parenting for the ages of 0 to however. But that really becomes what it is, because the scale of it is so grandiose that it's you can't comprehend it, right? And other people can't they don't know what it is. But then you start to say, if I solve this problem, I solve this problem. So back to your kind of financial budgeting and question, you can figure it out, right? Some things are nice to have, some things are needs to have.
Yes.
And it's everyone's situation is different, whether one parent's working full time and the other one's not, or they're both working full times, right? I mean, it's in our case, like, say my wife, she loves her career, right? Like she wants to go back and teach. And sometimes we get the comments of like, well, mathematically, doesn't that make sense? Like you could stay at home. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, there's a lot that goes on in the math, right? Between, um, salary and health insurance and whatnot. But it's also like that was her thing. Like we have drivers as people, and maybe part of hers is to that career, that teaching of others gives her
Right. Yeah.
a reward, and want to hang on to that. And then others who, if they want to stay home, like that gives them that reward, right? That need. Um, so there are ways to figure it out. You can always pivot, right? Your expectations of what life looks like has already changed. If you found out you're having triplets, you're already faced with a decision.
Yes.
People, that's the change. Then if you decide to have them, then you're already on this path of it's not what you thought it was going to be. So the rest of it may not be what you thought it was going to be, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different than your expectations.
Well said. Yeah. No, I think that's something I feel like it's pretty relevant, just because I think people need to hear that. Like, I mean, I think anyone out there expecting multiples, twins. I mean, like, I think a lot of what we said can, especially if they're your first, can translate to like twin parents and stuff. Like, I mean, I definitely want, and of course, I mean, quads. I've never met anyone with quads, but they're out there. Yeah, they're out there.
They're out there.
They're out there, and I wish we could tell you, but I mean, once you have multiple, it's like we're all in the same boat. Some people are higher than others, but we're all in the same boat, and I think the experiences are pretty similar. Twins, triplets, quads, more. But yeah, I just always like to kind of give words of encouragement to anyone out there listening who's expecting, because I think a lot of people will pretty much kind of lean on the negative and the stress side of it, and there is plenty of that, but there's also a lot of really great and rewarding things that come through this journey of multiples that you just can't get, like you just can't get unless you have the multiples. Like it's just, that's truly it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did always want a big family. Would we have had a big family if this hadn't happened? No, we
Right.
probably would have stopped at two.
It's
Right?
two. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's even. It's a lot of
It's
decisions.
practical. It's
Right.
practical. You can,
A lot of
there's
things are
two, a
made
parent for
for
each.
right
Yeah.
one on
Yeah. A
one.
parent for, yeah.
Things are made for a family of four, right?
Mm-hmm.
A booth at a restaurant. It's made for a family of
Yes.
four, right? Like so where I draw my hope from is it was forced change on me to I like, if somehow the universe said you want a family of four, here you go. You now have the option to have a family, or a big family, I should say. You wanted a big family, now you have the option to have a big family. So
Right.
there you go. And now they're all different. They're all running around. One's playing with trucks, one's reading books, and one's sprinting down the hall. Like,
Yeah.
so someone's laughing at the question, how do you manage it? Like, how do you do it? Like,
Mm.
house must be crazy. And it's like, well, you learn their patterns, right? Like if one of my kids goes in that room, I know what she's going to do because she does it 9 times out of 10, right? Because that's her thing, right? Versus the other, I know what he's going to do. He's going to
Yeah.
go play with cars, and if I get on their level and you try and engage with them all the time, you start to learn the patterns, and then they're just having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, man. I pretty spot on, honestly. Yeah. I think that's pretty accurate because, again, like, we all know our kids, and yeah, that question, how do you do it? How do you manage it? Like, I wish there was a one size fits all answer. There's not, but I think it's like, I don't think you don't really have a choice. Like, you got to figure, like, you've figured out and routine and just pretty much like the routine of the kids and as they grow and like, as long as like, especially if you and your partner are on the same page, like that's also extremely key because you can't be parenting two different ways and you know what I mean? And then have this many kids because then it's just, yeah. It's tough.
It is. Yep.
All right, Colin. Well, I appreciate you so much for jumping on. And I know we can honestly talk all day because we just got into like the surface level of triplets and some of these discussions. But I really enjoyed talking about what we discussed today because I don't think it's covered enough at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like that isolation part, the comments, like I think it's just really valuable to have this information out there for people. Just to get a better understanding. That's it. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to position ourselves higher than other parents or complain about other parents or parents of singletons and whatnot. Not at all. I think we're just giving a little bit of a peek inside our lives, like some of the things that you and I deal with.
Yep. I agree. Thanks for having me on, Isaiah. It's nice to connect with somebody who's like I said, living the same life at times.
Yeah.
Challenges, spoken, unspoken.
Right.
But yeah, appreciate the chat. I hope to talk to you again soon. And
yeah. Your wife's Instagram, before you go, your wife's Instagram handle is, and I'll put in the show notes, but just remember, if you guys want to keep up with Colin and see his family, his wife's pretty active on social media. She's active on Instagram. What was the handle?
Instagram and TikTok are the same. It's
Okay.
SL Triplets plus PLUS 1. So SL Triplets plus 1. And it'll pop up there. Yeah. So Sadie's got a pretty active following. I mean, she gets similar questions, right? I mean, she tells me how she's talking to expecting moms or triplet moms or moms of multiples, with the same talk. So, yeah, nice to be able to share some of the experiences. And thanks again for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'll definitely have you on for part 2. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Colin. Thanks again for listening to the Triplet Double Podcast. I'm excited to bring on more guests and keep these conversations going. If you enjoyed this episode, follow along on social media to stay updated. And if you have questions or ideas for future guests, email me at isaiah@tripletdouble.com. We'll see you next time.